welcome back to another episode of JP and the Beanstalk.
You bet. There's a great energy in the podcasting room / gym.
There is.
We're here.
Yeah,
it's great.
It is.
I love that you're wearing the wedding hat. Congratulations to Lily and Brady. Good for you guys.
Yes. Yeah.
Really good for you guys.
Fantastic wedding. We killed it.
That's great.
By we, I mean they. Those two killed it. I was there in a supporting role.
There you go.
But I killed my job. I killed my job.
All you got to do, you got to know your role and knock it out of the park. And when everybody does that, it's incredible things can happen.
It's crazy because I think I was more tired from the dancing than alcohol.
It's great.
I mean, I think it combined at the end of the day.
Tend to, flow together when it comes to impact. But yeah.
My body was exhausted. So.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I have a few weddings in my mind that I'm going, hey, that was a good time. So many weddings that I've been to have just been subpar.
Yeah.
But it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. I think it helps when you know a lot of the people there.
Correct.
So.
Yep. Adds a little more depth, a little more meaning.
I'm biased. It's my sister. It's my only sister, my sibling.
It'd be easy for you to critique it. You know what I mean? Down to the nitty gritties. And instead, the fact that you had such a glorious time and the rest of the family was able to have a wonderful time. It's wedding season, baby.
But here's the other thing too, though. If you're one of those people who are nitpicking your own sibling's wedding, is your sibling happy? If yes, then shut the hell up. Okay, that was my whole thing. I was like, is this what Lily wants? If that's true, then great. If not, fix it.
Yeah.
But it's her day. It's her and Brady's day, not my day. I'm going to do what she needs me to do, and then I'm going to.
What a very noble podcast.
I'm going to fade out to the background.
Good job. That's knowing
not my day.
Executing it well. You could write a short and yet powerful book about what to do when it's not your day. That's great.
Oh my God.
That's exactly.
Don't even get me started on that.
That's exactly what people should do. It is. It's not. You're there to serve the soon-to-be married couple, to make sure they have as good of a day as they possibly can. That's really all it's about. Yeah.
It's not hard. No, it's not hard. I don't care if some family member specifically isn't having a great time or isn't interacting.
No.
It's not. Guess what?
That's what you want.
It's not my job to make sure they're interacting with people.
No.
They need to interact with the people that they need to interact with, because the people that they're trying to interact with, guess what? They're busy doing other crap.
It's not about you.
No!
It's just not.
Get over it.
This is why everyone should have at least one sibling in their life. Truly. Because I don't know, and I'm sorry for anybody that's a single child out there listening.
Losers.
I feel like that would just mess with you in a certain sense, where your normal is you're the only kid for your parents to focus on.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that being helpful when it comes time to leaving the nest and realizing that, I'm sorry, there's other birds in the sky. There just are. Right? So I'm not saying everybody has to have a ton of kids, not by any stretch of the imagination, but have a sibling. That's just a good way to learn as you're growing up. It's not all about me. That's great.
And that way the sibling also is in the trenches in there with you.
Yes.
Right? So that's something you learn later on is yes, my parents are here, but at the same time, I'm going to be with my sibling longer.
Correct. Most definitely. Most definitely.
God help it. I'm hoping. Praying.
All natural courses of life unfold.
You should be with your sibling the longest.
Yeah.
Out of those relationships.
There's no doubt.
So.
Yeah. And the cool thing too is the older that you get, the narrower the gap becomes between the two of you, as far as, okay, you're still always going to be so many years apart, but it matters less and less with every passing year. You just get into the more similar seasons of life, which is really cool.
For sure.
Yeah. Every summer, there's one type of movie specifically that I want to watch, and then there's one specific movie that I want to watch. The type of movie is baseball movies. I love baseball movies, and every time the summer starts and baseball season kicks off, I'm let's watch Moneyball, Field of Dreams, so on and so forth. But every time we get into genuine wedding season, it's Wedding Crashers time. What a great time.
That is one of your favorite movies, isn't it?
Gosh. My wife and I quote that daily. Just freaking daily. Our favorite scene, without question, it isn't like an original take, but it's the scene where they're doing the pickup football game outside. And I think it's the first time or second time that Vince Vaughn just gets knocked to the turf by Bradley Cooper. And oh my gosh, what's the old actor's name? Oh, I can picture him in my head, and now I'm blanking so hard. In Dune 2. Oh my gosh, more cowbell.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
Christopher
about.
Walken.
Yes.
Good. Golly, that was a huge brain fart. He falls over to his gay son. He's like, "Ha! What do you think about hopping in here for a couple of plays?" Todd, who's just like sitting off to the side painting while everybody else, he's like, "You must be joking." And Christopher Walken just goes, "Would it kill you just to play some competitive sports once in a while?" And Todd yells back, "Oh, would that make you love me?" And Christopher Walken's response is just like this under his breath, "Jesus Christ." I channel that energy on a daily basis with my own kids. Like when the reaction is just so over the top. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, come on, this is not that big. Like, let's calm down. Step back from the ledge just a little bit.
Me at work. Anyways, I digress.
All the time. So it's great. It's wedding season. I'm so glad that Lily and Brady had a great
Oh, yeah. I got another wedding next month and another one in October. Yeah, it's rolling.
Lean into it. I'm thoroughly beyond wedding season, which I'm strangely okay with. Although, speaking of my wife, one of her friends is getting married, and so we're going to have a boys' weekend because my wife's taking the 2 girls, and so it's just me and the 3 dudes, the 3 sons.
Oh, that'll be fun. When's that?
Starting tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
I know. And Lindsay was like, "Well, what are you guys going to do?" I said, "Well, probably shirtless all weekend." Exactly. Man. We'll be shirtless. We'll grill a lot of meat. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. I have no idea how to segue from grilling meat into X-Men First Class and the topics of today.
I will say, no, well, I don't have a segue. I was also going to throw this out, and this is actually kind of a bummer. So,
let's bring it back down a notch.
It's comic book related, so maybe we'll get into it. But the YouTuber comic historian passed away.
No,
at 40 years old.
Shoot.
So I was just gonna throw that out there as a pray for their family.
Crappers.
They just said unfortunate accident, which is
kind of ambiguous, but still sucks.
Terrible.
40 years old. That just
sucks. I grew up with him essentially throughout high school and college. So
I think part of what I was appreciating is the enthusiasm he brought to his videos.
Well, yeah,
the energy just
his voice
led right through.
Voice is fantastic. Yep. And I mean, I think he got me into like actually buying comic books.
100%.
So I got a text from Soul the other day notifying me about that. Bummer. So that was a bummer. So I thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, and what a guy, as far as, comics are so intimidating to get into because they're decades worth of stories. And so it's so hard to figure out, hey, what's the best access point here? You need some kind of context before you pick up a comic, because so frequently, right, they are, unless it's an alternate take universe that we've talked about before, it's hard to know where to even begin. What's the jumping on point? And I think one of the great things about Comic Historian is he did so much of the legwork and presented the material from the perspective of, hey, you've not read this before. Right. And that is such a noble, if you will, enterprise.
Especially with how confusing comics get.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So to make it accessible at the same time while sharing his passion with people, I have nothing but respect for him. So that's a shame.
I mean,
at least.
I mean, the amount of like stories I was like, oh, is this like worth reading? I'd watch his video first and be like, oh yeah,
right.
Add it to the list.
Yes.
So no, I know again it's a bummer, but he'll be missed. It's just crazy. It's crazy to me.
Yep. The not necessarily silver lining, but at least his work is always going to be out there. And so that's fantastic. And so it doesn't, yeah, doesn't stop with him. I think there's a great opportunity for his work to have just continued impact. Because truly, like we enjoy what we're doing here. This is a blast. But I'm never gonna even attempt to do what Tom Historian has done. Right, like that guy just we can't touch that.
I don't know
He's at his own tier, his own level. It's incredible.
And the fact that he figured out how to like do that without getting like flagged or anything too, I think is so impressive.
Yeah.
Having the art and everything in there, but without like
right. Right.
So
no, he's a master.
No, for sure.
He's one of the all timers. So R.I.P. my guy. That sucks. Totally sucks. But shoot. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Okay, well,
did we want to go first class first, or do we want to go with the news stuff first?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've been progressing right through the X-Men movies in preparation for the upcoming second most hyped movie of the summer, Wolverine Deadpool. So it's number 2, but it'll be a good number 2.
I just chose to ignore the fact that you said second because it's absolutely insane.
It is. Listen, it's number 1. It's gonna be great.
Yep.
But
I'm gonna make you fix it every time.
I like continuing just to come back to that one. It's great.
They can sense your life.
But we'll get into X-Men First Class. That's next on the docket. But let's we do want to spend some time on that gem of a film. So let's hit the news. Let's hit some additional news and notes before we'll invert things a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Sound great? Mm-hmm. Okay. So a couple tidbits. Let's start with the first, since we're kind of on the bummer train. So obviously this is a lot less significant than losing a human being. The Blade movie lost its director.
Again.
Okay, now this Blade reboot was originally set to release last November 3rd of 2023. Then it was pushed back to September 6th of 2024. Then it was pushed back again to November 7th of 2025. Here's where I'm at. We're not going to get this movie.
No.
It's not happening. It's just not going to. And that is a shame because they have cast the perfect person to play Blade. It's a phenomenal character. We have history on its side as far as will people go to see a Blade movie?
Absolutely.
If you listen to JP and the Beanstalk at all, yes, they do and they will. 3 times, thrice. So they're going to go again with Mahershala Ali. Like, fake voice, fake casting, great character. But instead, we'll get Kraven the Hunter this year.
Yeah, I think we're still going to get Blade eventually.
Boy, I hope you're right.
I think the more this gets pushed back, though, the more and more likely that Mahershala Ali is not Blade.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me.
Okay.
Because that's a great casting.
Yeah, Marshall's terrific.
Again, fantastic Cottonmouth. That's the only thing I've seen him in. But that's all you need to see him in, really. If you watch him as Cottonmouth in Luke Cage, you're like, holy crap.
Yep.
This dude is awesome.
Yep.
So that's what I'm afraid of, is that we're just going to lose him in that role completely.
Yeah.
And you have to do a damn good job if you're going to replace him, So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, no question. Part of what just bamboozles me, Riles, is we've talked about this before. This is just a fixed reality where no matter when you're playing at the highest or biggest level in the Disney and Marvel world, you have a set or limited amount of resources, energy, etc. How on earth is the Blade movie not receiving a prioritized portion of those resources? People would freaking go to this movie.
I know.
Now, I'm going to play this angle as well. Okay. You have a black lead actor leading what would likely be a black dominated cast that worked out pretty well for Black Panther. Right? Like, just from a pure money-making standpoint, when studios are going, hey, we think this is a vein worth hitting and exploring, why the frick aren't you? What are we doing? It makes no sense no matter what angle you're looking at it from, right?
Right. And they haven't casted anyone else for this movie, correct?
Like one actress, I couldn't even tell you her name off the top of my head, and her role hasn't been defined. But no, the public whatever we've been made aware of in terms of what the movie has, where it is in its production, I don't know, and it's probably just still in the very very early going. But remember, we heard Blade's voice at the end of Eternals
Yeah.
years ago.
Yep.
Good grief! I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense. Like, we're gonna make a Star Wars show like The Acolyte, which isn't good, which shouldn't exist. It just shouldn't exist. What are we doing?
Sorry, I looked at the cast. So the girl you're probably thinking of is Mia Goth.
Thank you.
It looks like they have like 7 people casted, but I don't know how accurate it is because Jared Leto's one of them.
It's not accurate. Let me spoil that for you. It's not accurate. That's somebody just having fun and going, "Hey, he played a vampire.
It's Morbid time."
Right.
That's why I laughed. I saw Jared Leto. I'm like,
Gee.
that's not real.
Yep.
How great would it be? No, I'm kidding.
Oh no, it would be great. It would actually be great.
I actually
I
would
would
not.
see the movie twice.
Actually, it would not be terrible.
No.
They could do it right.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So
do they have the script done even? Because I know that was one of their biggest hangups. It wasn't even directors as well. It was,
No,
it
you
was the
can't.
scripts.
like, if you're losing 2 directors, you're arm wrestling over the direction of the story, pun intended, and the director's going, "Okay, I've got other movies that I want to make," because the director as well has limited time, energy, and resources, and so they're not just going to sit in a project that's not moving
I'm hungry.
forward. They're just going to move on. Now, Mahershala Ali, the good news for him, right? The good news for any of these actors or actresses that are cast in the role of a movie that hasn't even begun production yet is you can just keep making other movies,
That's true.
right? Like, you're not
Until you get called.
right but at least when that happens, you start getting paid for that movie,
That's true.
right? So there's, I think, less on the line in that respect for an actor or actress. It's like, hey, you let me know when we're going to start shooting, and I'll show up.
Right.
So it's a bummer because I've been excited. You've been excited. I think collectively, superhero movie fandom has been excited for this project.
It's just going to be so different than
Yes.
everything else that we've
That's
had.
the other thing. It's just going to be it's going to be R-rated. It's going to be a different tone. Again, it
Push it.
works.
Push it at that point.
I mean, good night. The amount of hype for Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, that's a different tone. Hello, people have come out to see that. Okay, enough of that nonsense. So, R.I.P. Blade. Sorry, but Daywalker, not so much walking. Okay, I don't know how to bring that home.
Venom 3
Oh boy,
dropped a trailer.
really did.
Man,
It really did.
they're
A
just
real trailer.
I was telling you, it's really leaning into the corny. So it's just going to be, from this trailer, to me, it feels like it's just going to be a full-out symbiote on symbiote battle. Toxin, I don't think, is actually going to be a bad guy. Probably going to be a good guy fighting off the rest of them.
Yep.
So I don't think they hit no, because I hope they don't,
Mhm.
because that's a mistake, because they're not going to do it right. But just at this point, make it like a Transformers movie. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, just big, bombastic, ridiculous. It does not need to make sense.
Correct. Just go all out on the CGI fights.
Mhm.
Make it awesome. Make it a bloodbath, whatever you want to do. But at that point, that's what it needs to be. I'm glad I came up with that. It just needs to be a Transformers movie. Except with robot aliens, it just needs to be gooey aliens.
Yep.
Which I think I'd take the robots any day of the week. But either way.
Yeah. Is Tom Hardy drunk during this trailer?
He's got to be.
He has to be, right?
He has to be drunk throughout filming this entire movie.
Yes.
I honestly
You can't be sober doing this.
First of all, I love Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock. It's a fantastic casting choice, okay? I'm not going to even knock that. But
Correct.
I think this is more just something fun for him to do compared to... But, no, seriously, think about it.
You're absolutely right. I'm not disagreeing.
Every other role that Tom Hardy has is, serious,
Pretty intense.
very good. He's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
But you never get to see him cut loose. And Venom trilogy,
Yeah.
the Venom trilogy is that.
Yep.
It just lets him just kind of do his thing.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So I think that's just his outlet for like, I just don't want to do what I normally do. Now, after Venom 3, I would love it if Marvel called Sony up and is like, hey, just bring him over here. We're going to do our whole Secret Wars. Bring Tom Hardy over here. He can be Venom over here. We would love that. Because Tom Hardy Venom versus Tom Holland Spider-Man would be awesome. If it was a serious Eddie Brock.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that.
Tom Hardy, it is wild to me how much he has been in just movie after movie after movie.
He's a stud.
In the last
He's an absolute unit.
Years. He is a unit. I mean, think of this. I have not watched a single episode, okay, of the show Peaky Blinders, okay? But he's been in it since 2014. And I believe it wrapped up in 2022, but that's almost 10 years of a series. I wonder if he was in it for the duration. But anyhow, he's doing that show. In the meantime, when I first saw Tom Hardy was in Inception, right, way back in 2010. But then he cranks out Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in 2011, Warrior in 2011, This Means War in 2012, Lawless in 2012. Oh, I'm sorry, The Dark Knight Rises also in 2012. I mean, his filmography is just bang, bang, bang. And not every movie is terrific. Mad Max Fury Road, incredible movie in 2015, one of your personal favorites, I know. The Revenant, also in 2015. And these are not your average movies, is part of what I'm trying to say here. Like, the level of engagement and the physicality is just wild. Just absolutely wild. And he's just cranking. It's incredible.
I mean, he's even in like...
He's done 3 Venom movies by the time that this will have come out within 6 years.
Yeah.
That's silly.
But this is even saying like Black Hawk Down, Band of Brothers.
Yeah, way back.
I don't know how like involved he was for that.
Yeah, he had little bit pieces. I remember him in both of those, but only because I went back and looked for him in both of those. I love Band of Brothers. He's in maybe one episode. Black Hawk Down. He's kind of got a very, very small role, but it's wild. It's wild. So to bring it back to the Venom piece, it continues to be impressive that, listen, he brings his best. He continues to bring what he needs to bring to the role.
No, he's great.
Let There Be Carnage. Not a great movie, but Tom Hardy wasn't a problem in it at all.
No.
It's just a matter of can we get like the support as far as a worthwhile story, production value. That was lacking.
No, he has never, ever been the problem.
Right.
In anything he's in.
Correct.
So, no. Tom Hardy's
He's always worth watching.
Oh my gosh,
it's crazy.
I mean, that's the whole reason that this movie got a trilogy, to be honest with you.
No,
you know what I mean?
You're absolutely right.
Because if Venom was done right, obviously it's going to get a trilogy, but this?
Correct. The only thing that has been consistently right has been Tom Hardy.
Like, don't get me wrong. The first Venom deserved a sequel. Second Venom did not deserve a sequel. That should have been done after that. Okay?
We killed it.
You didn't even do Carnage right.
Correct.
And you had a good actor for it.
Yep. Yeah, no question.
Sorry, no thanks. Pass.
Yeah. Anything else on the news and notes front that you want to hit on?
No.
There, my guy. Yeah.
Let's get into the juice.
Let's get into the big meat on the bone there.
The juice.
So X-Men First Class, next on the docket. Let's have a little context here. Came out, originally back in 2011. I can't believe it's been that long.
Almost 10 years. I mean, not almost.
Beyond. Almost 15. Math is good. That's for Dr. Pepper.
Jade's math. Anyways.
But that's just wild to me that it's been that long. Directed by Matthew Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn, he's been one of those directors that, quite frankly, I've never gone, this dude's incredible, but he rarely directs something that's garbage. He's very unique. We'll put it that way. He's got his own flavor, his own cup of tea. Most recently, he directed Argyle, which worth watching once. That's enough. But good. Okay, it's not like you watch and go, well, this was trash. It's very unique. So the guy is putting forth effort. He has a distinctive flavor. So good on you, bud. Like he's been part of the Kingsman movies. Gosh, what else? Kick Ass. That was another movie he did. So he's got a knack. Again, I don't think the guy's incredible, but he's good at what he does. A lot of this he's serving as producers. But anyway, he directed this flick. The cast. Let's run through the cast list. All right. James McAvoy as Charles Xavier, aka Wheels, except not really Wheels in this movie.
Yeah.
Hit me first.
I think I appreciated him more in this role this time watching it than like previously.
Oh my gosh.
Like I think he actually I think like he did a great job.
Yes.
As a young Professor X.
Yes.
And like I think it really shows when he's going through the training for everyone.
Oh gosh.
Because in that scene it's like, oh no, this is actually like what Professor X brings to the table. Because the first 3 X-Men movies, like it obviously Charles is a focal
force.
Like he is a focal point. He is a pillar for the X-Men, but at the same time, you don't actually see him like too hands-on, right?
Correct.
Like you see him working with Wolverine to like help him like go through his memory a little bit.
He's more administrative.
Correct.
Less boots on the ground.
Correct.
Yep.
And in this, actually seeing him have the one-on-one with his students at the time, I found that really fascinating.
Yeah, you get to see him teach.
Yes.
He's teaching. And that's such a great call by you because with each, and this is the mark of a good teacher, and so this is such a strength of the movie, to your point, but he recognizes the different ways in which he can connect with his different, call them students, for lack of a better word, and that includes Eric.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, he is approaching teaching, and it's less of a, student to pupil with Eric. There's a peer relationship going on there, but with each of his students, he is interested in who they are and what makes them tick because he's trying to bring out the best in them.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like he's not even looking at it from the point of, well, these people should all work for me and serve my every whim. What's wild is he's powerful enough where he could force them to do that and they wouldn't even know they're being forced. Right? Like he could just say, you know what? I have godlike mutant powers. I'm just going to have the rest of these freaks do it, do my dirty work for me. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
so the fact that he is altruistic is remarkable and admirable. I love that there's an element of, it's kind of a blend of cockiness and naivety where he's almost too optimistic, right? About people and about mutants.
Yeah.
To his own, and you appreciate that. You're like, boy, I really would love for you to be right there, bud. But I don't think it's going to work out the way you think it's going to work out.
No. There's a couple times in that movie I'm like, I might not.
You need some experience.
I might not have. I might have sided with Magneto. There's a couple times where I'm like, wrong. Is he right? No, but he's not wrong either.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, let's get into that guy, Michael Fassbender.
Fantastic.
As Eric Winter.
It's the best.
It is.
I would watch him play Magneto for the rest of time. He's so good at it. Like,
he's the best.
By the way, something that I didn't remember either until we started watching these movies again. They legitimately, the beginning of this movie starts exactly the same way the first X-Men movie opens up.
Isn't that incredible?
Almost play by play. And then they go into him watching his mother die, and you're like, oh, this is why this guy's a psychotic. Not psychotic.
No,
not psychotic.
This is why he has this very
hatred.
Yep. Just this, he's like a zealot, right? Where he just has this deep rooted, sincere, there's one way to do it, and it's often the violent and decisive way. That's his default.
And it works so well. And you were like, oh, be more creative with the metal. This movie.
Wish.
So
granted.
Creative with the metal.
Wish granted.
By the way, how petty are you? We talk, and this comes from a guy who's very petty sometimes. This dude takes the Nazi knife, stabs a guy with it, calls it back, stabs a guy in the hand again. By the way, when he goes to that boat what does he have on him? He has that same knife. He brought it with him because he's like, I'm going to kill him with this because,
Nazis.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, and by the way, with the coin from the beginning to the end, that dude held on to that
Yep.
just so he could murder him with it.
Yep.
And that kill is insane. That is insane.
It is wild. So part of what I'm going to struggle a little bit here, and I just need to pick a lane. I'm going to start using the alter egos. Part of what I appreciate about this movie, I think one of the strengths of it is that they use the alter ego names so little, or at least they don't use them at the outset. Like it's Charles Xavier, it's Eric Lencher, it's Raven, it's Hank McCoy, right? We get into the X-Men names that we know them by later.
Right.
And it's very effective storytelling because it fleshes these individuals out as people, right? They're not just the superhero with this name. It's part of the brilliance of what the MCU would do with Steve Rogers, with Tony Stark, where they would reference those individuals by their names, right? More frequently, quite frankly, than the alter ego, right? And yes, it still gets blended in there. It's not ignored. They're not being that coy with it, but there's a real power that comes with Charles and Eric referring to each other as Charles and Eric. And we saw that, and I didn't pick up on it or appreciate it, I should say, in the first or original 3 X-Men movies. Like, that matters when Professor X and Magneto, they're never referring to each other by alter egos or even others, right? Yeah. Like Wolverine is always Logan.
Right.
Other people are going to call him Wolverine, but Charles and Eric, and this movie just leans into it and doubles down on it in a certain way. And that's so powerful between these two individuals in particular, between Charles and between Eric. And I still can't believe they pulled it off where you have these two very different individuals as legitimate and effective partners. Because if you look at them on a line, they are headed in very different directions.
Right.
But we get to encounter them at this just really unique point where their goals and their ambitions align ever so briefly. And they're able to partner up before they just keep on going in opposite directions of each other.
Right. And again, and this is one of the highlights of the original trilogy. It's still the highlight here.
Yes.
Their relationship is the prime center and focus of all of these movies.
No question.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like they are, I mean, Magneto said they're brothers.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, he felt terrible. He paralyzed him.
Yes.
But at the same time, he's like, we don't want the same thing, and so we have to go our separate ways.
He's so committed to his conviction. And by he, I mean Eric, and I gotta pick a lane. I mean Magneto. That he feels regret, but he also accepts what happened as part of the cost of war, right? And as you said, he's not wrong. He's not right, but he's not wrong because this is his normal. This is what he lived through. And it's brilliant that the movie, that First Class, starts with the same opening as the original X-Men movie to bring it back to that groundedness of this is how horrifying this blessing and curse of having mutant abilities can be. And here's how they have been manipulated in an unhealthy way for so long. Because right out of the gate, we get Sebastian Shaw messing with young Magneto to the point where his mom is killed right in front of him. Right. And it's like, that person is not going to have the same outlook on life as Charles Xavier.
No.
Who grew up white collar, uniquely gifted from the get-go, all the resources and comforts in the world. And he hasn't turned into a spoiled mama's boy or anything gross like that. But he's going to have a really freaking different perspective. Like, it's no wonder Magneto's carrying the knife around and just laying waste.
Yeah. Also, you don't feel bad those people died because they're Nazis.
Oh my gosh.
They kill Nazis. That's
correct.
Great,
Correct. You just think of Indiana Jones.
Absolutely.
I hate these guys.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with having Nazis be the antagonist of a movie.
Easy,
you just can't.
Easy win. It's like, they're the bad guys. We get it.
Yeah. No one's going to be conflicted over them being the bad guy. And if you are, there's a problem there. So, no. Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes from this movie is when they're in that training montage with the younger members of the group, and then Eric and Charles have the dialogue where Charles kind of challenges Eric and goes, "Hey, turn that satellite towards us," right? And Magneto makes the effort, doesn't really get it to budge much at all, and then Charles, with Magneto's permission, jumps into his memory to try and help him just process, right, this pain that he's just been holding on to. And in doing so, he unlocks a higher level of power than Magneto ever had access to. And it's such a strong, powerful scene because we've had these two characters develop alongside of each other for over an hour at this point in the movie's runtime. And it's just freaking beautiful, right? Where it's like, hey, pain and rage, that's not what you need to lean into. There's something better underneath there.
I love how it starts with him like having Charles point a gun at him. He's like, shoot it.
Right.
He's like, I'll catch it. He's like, I don't know if I want to do this.
He's like, I don't feel comfortable with this test.
He's like, I'll catch it. I've done it before. Right. He's like, well, if you've done it before, maybe you shouldn't do it. But like just the sheer like confidence of like,
oh my God,
just shoot me. Pull the trigger.
Yeah. The two of them, James McAvoy is terrific as the young Charles Xavier, and Michael Fassbender is young Eric Lencher. Incredible.
I hope they bring him back for Magneto moving forward.
I think he would do it. That's the thing. I think he would do it.
I think you'd be dumb not to.
Correct.
Like on both fronts. I think it's just perfect for him, and I think it's perfect for Marvel.
Yep.
It's like this dude, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's genuinely amazing at it.
Yeah.
And I think if you wanted to, because Magneto more recently is more of like an anti-hero at this point. Like he's not straight up like bad guy like he was in these movies. Like I think he can do that.
Yeah.
And I think he can do it well.
Yeah. Totally agree. All right, let's keep moving through the cast list. Jennifer Lawrence as Raven, aka Mystique.
Yeah.
I thought she was great.
It's okay.
I thought she's great. Here's the only thing I genuinely don't like, and I know they at least use it in a intentional, hey, we're trying to develop the character. I still just don't love the doubling down on the head to toe blue, where it's like she's just literally walking around naked. It's just weird. And they at least utilize it as part of the story in this sense.
And Charles is like, put some clothes on.
Right. Because it's like, yeah, that's what it should be. This shouldn't be this is fantastic.
You don't like me for the way, no, you're naked.
Right.
Put on a shirt.
Right. Please. So I could have done without that. But I like that they explored that even her physical strength, right, is impacted when she's spending her energy and focus on taking a different shape or form. Like that's a nice twist or added depth to that character.
Right. And like, yes, her whole character progression in this made sense. I lost where I was going with this, to be honest with you.
She's a worthwhile character in this movie, and that is so much better than what we got for her character in the original trilogy.
Agreed. She definitely more depth for her. Makes it make more sense. I thought it was cool that they made a nod to the original actress.
Yep.
And that just very short glimpse.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just her going from not wanting to look the way that she did to just full on accepting it. Yes. The end. Now she didn't do any like cool like badass moves like in the first three movies.
Correct.
But first two movies she didn't do shit. The third one,
true, she didn't have much of an opportunity. But I like that they inserted her character as kind of this. They use the character of Mystique to represent the tension that exists between Eric and Charles, right? Because you start at the beginning of the movie, Charles and Raven are best of friends, and by the end of the movie, they're still friends, but Raven has turned to seeing things through Magneto's point of view. And so it's a very effective mode of storytelling where you're having a character embody that tension. So I thought she was really effective. Yep. And I enjoyed Jennifer Lawrence. She's just a studly actress. So She was great. Nicholas Hoult as Hank McCoy, aka Beast. What'd you think?
It didn't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Human form makes sense.
Yeah.
He pulls that off really well.
Yep.
But I didn't notice it until this movie.
Yep.
His voice did not work with the actual like Beast form. And they did some. First of all, the audio doesn't even match up. I don't know if you watched that movie and realized that the audio doesn't match up.
Yeah.
And then they try to add like this weird like tone to it.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
After watching Kelsey Grammer,
I know it's not fair.
It's not even close.
It's not.
Kelsey Grammer. By the way, again, I'm gonna highlight that again. Perfect casting for Beast, but underrated superhero casting for a movie. Period.
Yeah.
To go from that to go to that, like it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just
Young Beast. Here's where I think part of the problem is. You hit on a big piece of it already, which is you go from Kelsey Grammer, who has, as we talked about on the previous pod, the voice of a male angel, and then you go to Nicholas Hoult, who just has like a voice, just a guy.
Yeah,
right? Just a guy's voice.
It's just a dude.
Yep, he's just a guy. That's tough. That's a tough transition. And I think the other element here is like I don't think Young Beast works. I just don't find the character very compelling. Like
That's interesting.
Beast as as an elder of sorts, right? That can also throw down. That is compelling. Young Beast, and especially when it's like Young Beast who's wrestling with the do I want to be, in human form? Do I want to just give into the beast form? That was the part of this movie that I found least interesting was Hank McCoy trying to like mitigate his physical transformation, and then it backfired. Like,
I mean, he's been known to experiment on himself, so that's not crazy.
Sure.
Here's the other thing that
felt off-brand. Like, really?
And here's the other thing that I think of. Because when you think of even like when the X-Men first came out, because Beast is one of the original X-Men.
Correct.
Yes, he was still like a humanoid.
Yeah.
Like, not like the fur's not there, but he was still kind of like a big dude.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
almost gorilla-esque.
Yes.
That is not Nicholas Hoult in this movie.
Yeah.
His feet almost feel out of place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, when he was in Beast form, great fights, loved it.
Correct.
Right? Like, he was good then.
Yep. Yep.
The look was off a little bit,
too. Was still just a little non-committal.
He looked,
in my opinion,
he looked like a live-action Beast from Beauty and the Beast, more than like actual Beast from the comics.
It just felt like they couldn't commit to one way or the other. They're trying to find this perfect blend of person and beast, and they should have just gone full Beast.
Right.
Because that's what was so impactful in X-Men 3 is he's full Beast. He's just big dude. He's in a suit. Like they wrap the Beast in a suit. That looks great.
And he's a big dude.
He's humongous.
Huge.
Yeah.
He's not that in this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with Beast in this.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Like the human part, I can like I said, I can kind of get behind it.
Yeah.
But
it's not an entire swing and a miss. It's just kind of it's an incomplete. It's like, I understand what they were going for. For me, it just doesn't work very well.
Agreed.
Yeah, no question. And by the way, there's no fault of Nicholas Hoult. I think he's a good actor. What I've seen him in, I've enjoyed. Mad Max again, another callback to that. Oh, that's fun. How that's the gift that keeps on giving.
Right. He will kill it as Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
100%.
No question.
Lex Luthor is a 10 times better casting than Beast.
Yeah.
Right? He can pull off the intelligent. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's just
he's put in the wrong role here.
I think it's the size.
Yeah.
I think the size of it for me is a big part of it, and the voice. The voice is, anyways.
No, totally agree. Totally agree. All right, let's keep moving. Quickly here, we won't spend a lot of time on a couple of these. This one in particular, Rose Byrne as Moira Taggart. She was good. She played her role just fine. I don't know that she needed this character needed to have that significant of a role. This just felt like we got to get a human in here.
She kind of does with like Charles have like a significant role, but like at the same time, it's like, first of all, she's Irish. Guess what? In X3, she's Irish.
The one accent they get right.
And then they digress. They're like, no. And again, we'll get into voices. We've already kind of gone down the voices route here.
I know.
But like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
She's
It's
supposed
so
to be
strange.
from Ireland, and then she's CIA
Mhm.
for America?
Mhm.
That doesn't make any sense at all. Anyways, it's
It-
fine.
It's weird. I guess it's how they decided with the whole scope of the story being the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's like, how can we incorporate the mutants in that? Well, we've got to give them some kind of government connection.
And I think it was also to show that like not all the humans hated mutants.
Yep. So it's fine. I wouldn't call it a miss. Wouldn't call it a hit. It's just like perfectly fine.
She's there.
She's there. Yep. Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw.
Fantastic.
What a sneaky great pick.
Oh yeah, I love
For
Kevin
villain.
Bacon.
I remember going to this movie not being aware that Kevin Bacon was in it at all.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great? Right? So he shows up like, really? This guy is probably not going to last very long. And he's in it for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he's villainous.
He's good.
He's
great.
Great. He is so well cast.
His powers are awesome.
Well cast. His powers
Dope
are
powers.
incredible. He is the right blend of menacing, but he's not like this shouting over the top. They're just saying, "Hey, Kevin, you're a great human being. We need you to play this role as if you're a bit of a creep and you're cocky as hell and no one can stop you. That's what we need. Can you do that? So pretty much be yourself because you're a great guy, but we just need you to add these couple flavors in there and we think you're going to hit it just right."
And
He does.
he's not afraid to get his hands dirty either.
Oh boy.
Like he gets his hands dirty. He would
enjoys it.
actually prefers it.
He enjoys it.
Like-
correct.
The way that
Correct.
he eats the grenade, he's like, yeah, pull the plug.
Mhm.
Pull it.
Mhm.
Do it. And he just eats it and you're like,
Oh boy.
oh golly.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay, you're legit. Like
Yep.
his powers are awesome and
Yep.
and unique enough where that's the only character I think I've seen on screen with that ability.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
and
True.
by the way, same way in the comics. So that
Yep.
like translated perfectly
Right.
because there's some powers, and we'll get into that later down the line here, that just
Mhm.
translate not so well. Okay, his is not one of them. It's fantastic. I love him in this.
Yeah. He's he's a great villain. Like so many comic book movie villains, he's killed off too soon. Now it's a great scene. It's very effective, but it's a bummer that Sebastian Shaw has just done so. But it's so easy. Like as I think through villains in superhero movies, I never, and I feel bad for this, I never think of Kevin Bacon in this role until we like have to talk about it, or I think about this movie in particular and I go, oh yeah, Michael Fassbender is fantastic and James McAvoy is great. Kevin Bacon is in that movie. Oh my goodness, he's incredible. It's too bad because he crushes his role.
Oh yeah, he did. He
crushes
did great.
it. Yeah, absolutely nails it. So good on you, Mr. Bacon. Jason Fleming as Azazel.
Dope.
Terrific.
Dope. You want to see Nightcrawler as a bad guy? That's it. There was not a scene that was bad in this movie with him. The fact that he just keeps stealing CIA agents and then just dropping them from the sky is
Wow.
insane.
Wow.
He made it rain.
Oh boy.
And then the rest of them, he just tore up.
That scene scares me, and I know what's going to happen, and it scares me because you just imagine yourself like, what would that be like? Just get grabbed from behind. You hear this little popping sound. All of a sudden, you're 50 feet in the air, and then you're falling.
Yeah.
And there's nothing but concrete.
You have no
beneath
control.
Holy poop. Holy
Yeah, you're
freaking
screwed.
You are. And then all of a sudden he's amongst them with his knives. And dude, the sound in that scene when he's slicing
Oh yeah.
people up.
And they're just watching
is
him.
gross.
And they can't do anything about
No,
it.
It's gross, but it's very effective. It's squishy.
No,
It's like a watermelon getting
And I wish
messed
they
up.
would have brought him back.
I know.
They didn't do
They did
anything with the
same-
character.
They did Dirty by Nightcrawler. They did Dirty by Azazel.
They're like, it's too overpowered. I think that's their thought process. They're like, we have no idea how to relegate this.
And yet he's defeated in the end scene by Beast and in Banshee. It's like, come on.
Beast handled it really well.
Yes.
But their
Yes.
fight was awesome.
It was fantastic. It's like, this is too cool. We can't possibly bring this back again. People have seen enough. Yeah.
Crazy.
Good grief. All right. Good on you, Mr. Fleming. January Jones as Emma Frost. Just gotta be like one of the most awkward, in my opinion, like comic book and movie characters ever. It's like, listen, we need you to have huge boobs and wear a bikini. Can you do that? Well, like that's all this character does.
And it's a shame too, because she is a genuine. I mean,
She's
still
a powerful character.
she still dresses like that, but like, but she and she uses it to her advantage, like she did already in this movie. But she's so significant to the X-Men, to where she is like on the good side, but she's a lot like Magneto, where she kind of just rides the line to whatever suits her best, right?
Yeah.
So she kind of, it's weird because she's like significant in that first half, and then they just kind of take her out, and it's like, why?
A little too easily.
Yeah.
A little too easily when she is like going toe to toe with Charles Xavier in the in the psychic realm. It's like, but then she's just beaten. She's just handled, done.
Well, the other thing that doesn't make sense, she cut a hole in that glass.
Correct.
And then she's still waiting in the prison.
Right. Why? Just get out.
You could have gotten out.
Right. It's a super strange.
Shaw didn't care enough to go get you out.
Super strange conclusion for her character.
Silly.
Yeah. The power set's cool. The character representation, and it's comic accurate, but it's just like, come on, do better.
The diamond form translated okay.
Yeah, it was just okay.
It could have been a little better.
Yeah, it was pretty.
But it wasn't bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Zoe Kravitz as Angel Salvador.
Was that supposed to be like Pixie?
I have no idea. I really don't know. They never gave her much of in the way of an alter ego.
Underwhelming name. I didn't really care.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot that she like switched sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how little.
Yeah.
Like going through this movie, I was like, oh, she's in it.
Here's what I appreciated about rewatching this movie. Zoe Kravitz has put in work. She is a phenomenal force in The Batman, 12 years after this movie. So she has put in some legit effort to improve her acting game. She doesn't bring a lot to the table here, and that's fine.
It's also fine. Like not given it.
Not given a lot to do either, but for as just okay as she is in this movie, man, she's incredible in The Batman. So I just want to call out to that. Good on her. Lucas Till as Alex Summers, aka Havoc. I like seeing Havoc in the movie.
No, it's weird though that like Cyclops doesn't even get brought up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he doesn't bring up his brother. Like,
no. And then
drop that at all.
He has two brothers, right? He's got two brothers. Yeah. Vulcan's insane though. Yeah. But no, at least bring up Scott. You didn't bring up Scott. That's weird.
Yeah,
but
I
like
think it's still Apocalypse that he brings up Scott.
But is Havoc even in Apocalypse?
Yes. Spoiler alert: he dies.
Oh yeah.
It's really.
I'm not gonna say I barely remember. But I'm like, why did you not have those two together?
Frustrating that he dies.
Why did you not have the two of them together?
Yeah. He has a poor conclusion in this trilogy. I really enjoyed his character in this movie. I just like the character of Havoc in general. And they don't give him too much to do, which is right. He shouldn't. They gave him the right amount. Listen, this guy's voice you could have put as Beast. Like, he's got some depth.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Not Kelsey Grammer, still elite.
It still needs to be Kelsey Grammer.
It still needs to be Kelsey Grammer. All right, Caleb Landry Jones as Cassidy, a.k.a. Banshee.
Okay, first of all, miss on the Irish accent, because that dude should have also had an Irish accent.
Correct.
That's Banshee. Mm-hmm. Secondly, this is one of the powers that is a weird transition into live action.
Yeah.
It's a weird... Now,
it's so strange.
When he uses sonar underwater, that's dope.
Pretty cool. Yep.
It's the flying for me that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Everything else,
no, it does not make sense.
I'm all good with that. I can get behind it. Black Canary doesn't do that in DC. It's just weird.
Make sense.
It's a weird transition.
It does.
Okay. In the comics, you're like, okay, sure, whatever. But like,
those comics,
right? Exactly. But like in this movie, like I get it. They're like trying to push them past their limits and stuff. It's weird.
It is. This is a bold choice by this movie when they're going through the roster of, hey, who should we include in this? How about Banshee? I would, you just have to suspend your disbelief more than you would like to as an audience
Right.
member to go, yeah, that works. Because it's just really ludicrous. It's like, no, you don't fly with sound waves.
It's absolutely
That's not how
ridiculous.
that works. You can't yell in such a way that the air suddenly is working to keep you up. Gravity is no longer winning. So that's not how this works.
The science behind it doesn't make sense.
No, it's really actually just kind of funny. It's like, no,
it's ridiculous. It's 100% ridiculous.
Yeah, it's truly silly. Now, I will say the sound that they ultimately picked, that they mixed for his voice that allows him to fly,
it worked.
It's really effective. It's not annoying. It's just actually really effective. And I love how Magneto just gives him the shove. They're standing at the top of the satellite, and he's like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Let's find out.
And Charles just looks at him and he's like, you were going to do it. If I didn't do it, that's what you were going to do.
We just got there faster. Yeah, so I enjoyed that training scene quite a bit. All right, Eddie Gathegi as Darwin.
Our new Mr. Terrific, by the way.
Exactly.
Shouldn't have died.
Why are we killing him?
Well, first of all, why would you kill the guy that can't be killed? And he be your first death?
And also, like,
because his powers were cool.
His powers were cool. And can we be a little more self-aware and not kill the black guy? I mean, seriously, this is like incredibly toned down. Incredible cultural misfire. And I'm not here championing like something weird. It just sticks out a little too obviously. Like
I didn't even pick up on it.
Oh my gosh! Like you have all these characters you could pick, and you're like, all right, eeny, meeny, miny, black guy, got him. All right, you're gonna die. And it's such a tough death too.
Well, it just doesn't make sense though.
No.
After he just was like hyping himself up, and the fact that he can't be killed. Also, by the way, it's so funny to me. That one little scene where they're all flipping out, and it's just Havoc with a baseball bat smoking Darwin as like often as possible.
Right,
trying
it doesn't hurt him.
Trying to hurt him as best she can, and it just doesn't work.
Right. Just youthfulness. Now Eddie deserved better.
Oh yeah,
because as an actor, he's engaging. His character has such a great skill set. You want to keep that around.
I was interested. Yeah.
Yes. And so it's like, with Sebastian Shaw's character, it's like, okay, I understand if you're going, we need to kill a character. I understand that a little bit, but pick someone else. Because this pick Banshee. Pick Banshee. Pick the one that doesn't make sense.
Or pick
you know what? We don't have to try and figure out how to make this work. We're just gonna kill him. Shaw. You got him? Good.
Or just pick a different mutant entirely.
Yes.
And just be like, okay, we don't really care about this character as a whole. They'll think it's funny he dies.
I just remember watching the movie for the first time and thinking, this is just a little awkward. Like, this is so obvious.
I didn't even pick that up on it at all. It's crazy.
Oh, it just funny, but it's not funny, but also funny. Okay, last cast member, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Hey, nice to see Hugh in here.
Is it the last one?
Well, I mean, yes, I think so.
Oh, beautiful line.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Perfect. Very on brand.
It honestly kind of bums me out. Because I'm like, he actually would have been hilarious in this movie.
I love perfect cameo.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great.
Perfect.
It's on brand. 100%.
On brand. It's the length that it needs to be. It's the impact that it needs to be. It doesn't distract the movie, but it also sets a little bit of context for the rest of the X-Men here. Some of these.
It also shows, like, not everyone said yes.
Right. Who would say no? We got one. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, so that's really the extent of the cast members. Anything else you want to hit on the individual cast note?
No, because I was just thinking, because they had the Twister guy. That was, I don't even know who that is.
You're right.
They had the Twister guy, though.
Yeah.
He was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think that's it outside of that. I did think it's really interesting that William Stryker's dad was the one that was already anti-mutant in this movie from the government standpoint. So it's like, no wonder he's the way that he is.
What a gem.
Because his dad's also a dick.
Neat guy.
But yeah, I want to know what the mutant's name was because I was curious. Because the only thing I could think of for Marvel is like Hurricane, but I don't think he's a mutant, and I thought he's an Iron Man villain. So
He goes by Riptide.
oh, that's kind of cool.
It's not bad.
Where's my big book of everything is not in here.
Yep.
But oh, okay, I'm gonna look that guy up
Good
later.
recollection on your part. My apologies, Mr. Riptide.
You know what? I'm gonna Google
Alex Gonzalez as Riptide.
Yeah.
Good on you, Al.
Didn't say anything, but you know what?
Right.
I understand why his powers are OP because they are.
Mm-hmm.
Although Storm's better, but still, Storm can do a lot more, but it's still dope.
Correct. Yeah, I thought overall, like the casting for this movie was absolutely outstanding. Right? There's the misses are small, the hits are tremendous, and part of the other piece I wanted to call attention to at this movie is that ensemble balance. Right? They found it here. They did it in First Class, and that's so cool because we had talked about it with how well it worked in X2 in particular. And again, this is just another superhero movie prior to The Avengers, which would come out 1 year later in 2012, that balanced such a large cast of characters so well, giving the right amount of time, I think, to each character. Like, truly, I can't think of a genuine critique that I would have of, well, I wish they would have shown this character more or this character less. I think they really, really hit on the balance side of things.
Which is
It's
what
so
are what's been a complaint in the past.
correct.
And for this, yeah, I would agree with you entirely. I think the balance was perfect. Like the main focus was obviously who it needed to be focused on.
Charles and Eric. Yeah.
Charles, Eric, and Sebastian. Like
Yes.
those were the three
Yes.
anchors, and they needed to be the pillar points. Especially this is your origin movie for your X-Men trilogy.
Yep.
Which
Yep.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It set up everybody to the paths that they were going to be going on.
Yeah, and we'll get into how well the trilogy does at cashing in on the work that First Class does, but I don't think First Class could have set up the future movies any better. Just
No.
the amount of character development that it provided, and this was such a dark horse little movie coming in because the hype was pretty modest, the marketing was pretty modest. X3 had been, met with kind of a relative, just okay.
X-Men Origins Wolverine was rough.
Oh my gosh, right. So this was not this movie did not come on the scene out of a place of strength for the X-Men movie franchise. And so I remember going into it because I just love the X-Men. So I'm like, I'm going to go watch it, but my hopes aren't high. And boy, were they exceeded by this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because you watch that movie and you're like not expecting that to have a trilogy come out of it. I don't think anybody's like, oh, I want to see that. I mean, obviously, Michael Fassbender, like, give us that guy.
Yep.
But outside of that, I don't think anybody's like clamoring for X-Men Apocalypse the way that it was presented.
Yep.
Or X-Men Dark Phoenix for that matter.
Oh,
Days of Future Past is obviously amazing, fantastic X-Men movie because it balances that First Class cast with the rest of them.
Right.
So, but outside of those, you're kind of just like, maybe.
Yeah.
So for it to get what it got out of it, those two extra movies, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty dang impressive. And, Fassbender, this was just kind of right at the, I can't pretend to say, oh, this is what, shot him into the stratosphere. He had, like, for example, Inglourious Bastards came out in 2009, so a couple years prior to X-Men First Class. But this is really the genesis of where Fassbender starts becoming a big deal, and rightfully so. Like, he is tremendous in everything that he does. And just like we talked about with Tom Hardy earlier, it's like he's not always in a movie that's great, but he's always great in the movie that he's in. Right. The problem is not going to be with Fassbender. It's going to be with a lot of other things because he's just tremendous.
Yeah.
So they really hit it out of the park on that front. So any other takeaways for you, Riles, from this one?
No, Just give us more Michael Fassbender as Magneto.
Yep.
Please and thank you.
Yeah.
He's still in prime.
Yeah.
For that role.
Yeah.
He'll be prime until he's 80. So
he's got a long prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of context here, just because I always find this interesting. So again, this movie came out, X-Men First Class, in 2011. We were just getting into the throes of the MCU. So Captain America: First Avenger came out, as well as Thor. So we had 2 MCU flicks come out in 2011. So we're just getting into the kind of laying the final groundwork for the Avengers. The phenomenal Green Lantern movie came out in 2011 as well. And then also the blockbuster classic Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance.
Oh, the second one.
The second one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of superhero movies.
Quite a few, quite frankly. And the reason I like bringing that context up is I would wager that First Class had as little, maybe not the least, but is certainly on the, out of those 5 movies, on the low end in terms of the anticipation prior to its release. And yet out of those 5,
arguably the
that's
best.
the best.
Arguably.
It's the best. And that's nothing against Captain America: The First Avenger, which is really good in its own right.
That's the only one you could probably make the argument for being number 1.
Yeah, but I feel really comfortable saying First Class is a just a better movie. They're different movies. This is an ensemble movie. First Avenger is obviously focused on Steve Rogers.
Because they still go against Nazis.
They still go. You're right. Freaking Nazis, man. Wouldn't it have been awesome if they could just like in some way.
Well, but think about it. 2 superhero movies in that year were against Nazis.
There's the gift that keeps on giving in the villain realm, right? You need a bad guy to fight. Where's a Nazi we can go destroy?
It's either Nazi or Russian.
Dude, seriously. Okay, Riles, that takes us home, man.
I think so too.
Our top 5 well is currently running dry, so we're going to allow it to refresh.
But we're at an hour and 6 minutes. So if we had a top 5, we'd go for another 30 minutes.
Stop listening.
Yeah. So
stop listening. I would stop listening.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So
we don't want that. We'll come back at you next time, guys.
We'll hit a top 5 next time.
We will.
We'll wrap it up. You've probably noticed, if you've made it this far, that there are some changes to the channel. It has been rebranded.
It's so great.
It's Magic Beans Productions.
Love it.
The old one has been archived.
Mm-hmm.
So JP and the Beanstalk is still going to be on this channel. Nothing's changing. It's just a nice little rebrand.
You bet.
Essentially. So
we've had a lot of controversy we've had to sweep under the rug.
Yes. Me, probably. If there's controversy, it won't be from him. It'll be from me. I probably said something I shouldn't have.
Amazing.
In a good way, not in a bad way. It probably got taken out of context. Anyways, I digress. I feel like I'm spiraling for no reason. I haven't said...
Sorry, I got you spiraling.
I have not said anything bad yet. Anyways.
Give it time.
Give it time. 100% give it time. So yes, that's been... You'll probably see some new graphics. That's great.
Great, man. It's so fun to see. So love it.
Yeah, that's where we're at with that. So, yes, if it changes, it changed for a reason.
It's changed for the better.
Yes. And so, don't be like, oh my gosh, I don't follow it. You do. It's nothing changed that way. It's just a different name. So don't freak out.
Yeah, you're welcome, really.
So, yes, you are welcome. So, on that note,
take us home.
Godspeed.
Peace.